Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Brief History Of, and today we're looking at the Battle of Los Angeles. The Battle of Los Angeles was an incident over, Los Angeles shortly after the USA's entrance into the Second World War, and not to be confused with the 2011 Asylum Studios action movie ripoff of Battle LA. The event has been attributed to a number of things, from Japanese planes to UFOs, but it could have just been a case of trigger-happy war fever. The event took place between the 24th and 25th of February 1942, just 3 months after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor and just 1 day after the bombardment of Elwood. Understandably, the US Defense Forces were on high alert as fears of a Japanese invasion of the West Coast increased. In the evening of the 24th of February, air raid sirens started to sound all across LA County, and a subsequent blackout was ordered for the night. In the early hours of the 25th, at 3:16 am, 50 cal machine guns and 12.8 pound anti-aircraft guns started to fire from the 37th Coast Artillery Brigade at suspected Japanese aircraft. By 4:14 am, around 1,400 shells had been fired into the night sky when the all clear was ordered. As a result of the shelling, several buildings have been damaged and several reported casualties have been attributed to the action, some from a number of car crashes and others from a number of reported heart attacks, presumably from the stress of an hour-long bombardment in the early hours of the morning. Even though the 37th had been firing at the sky for around an hour, no evidence of any enemy aircraft materialised. A mystery, you might say. Well, we'll get onto that in a minute. Quickly after the air raid, Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox held a press conference saying that the entire incident was a false alarm and attributed the event to war nerves. Knox's comments were followed by statements from the Army the next day that reflected General George C. Marshall's belief that the incident might have been caused by Japanese commercial airplanes used to cause fear in the civilian population. These conflicting reports didn't do much to stop the press from throwing out many different theories. Theory number 1. A UFO. A photo in the LA Times shows a glowing saucer-like object caught in a number of searchlights. The photo caused much debate and became the source of many UFO sightings a whole 5 years before Roswell. There hasn't been much other proof to the UFO theory, and the photo depicting the UFO-like craft had been retouched to increase the contrast of black and white, a common practice of the time to help photos stand out in newspapers. Theory number 2. Japanese planes. After the war, the Japanese government stated that they never flew any mission over the area at the time, so it's unlikely that the barrage was caused by either military or commercial aircraft from Japan. This also compounded by the fact that no aircraft wreckage was found, because if there was a plane up there, then at least some parts of it would have landed over the city, and there were many photographs of the aftermath published in the papers. However, Japan did send out submarine-launched planes over Seattle later on in the war. Theory number 3. A meteorological balloon. The main and most likely theory as to what caused the barrage was a weather balloon. In 1983, the Office for Air Force History concluded that meteorological balloons had likely triggered the event, stating, "A careful study of evidence suggests that meteorological balloons, known to have been released over Los Angeles, may well have caused the initial alarm." This theory is supported by the fact that anti-aircraft artillery units were officially criticised for having wasted ammunition on targets which moved too slowly to have been planes. Weather balloons were released from each battery every 6 hours and contained a candle to keep the balloon visible to the ground. Reports suggested that nearly all the batteries had opened fire on the mystery object apart from one. The one battery that didn't fire, D battery, was funnily enough the one that was in the supposed flight path of the object. It was also D battery that had released the balloon at 3 am, just 16 minutes before the incident. Even more bizarre, the battery was told not to mention balloons, and the commanding officer, Colonel Ray Watson, was pensioned off. All of the anti-aircraft batteries on the west coast were on high alert due to the barrage at Elwood the day before, and because of this many spotters were on edge expecting another attack to happen at any time. Because of this high state of alertness, all it would take was one shot to set off the entire LA County's air defences. To add further fuel to the fire, it is believed that many of the batteries mistook the shells exploding in the sky as more aircraft. A few months after the event, the Battle of LA had largely been forgotten about, as the build-up in the Pacific began to take hold on the news headlines. President Roosevelt received a memo from the army stating that no evidence of bombs being dropped, troop casualties reported, or planes shot down had been found. The president's response was to suggest that the power to order an air alarm should be restricted to US Army officials. Unfortunately for the local American Japanese population, many were rounded up under bizarre charges of signalling to the enemy and were interned until the end of the war, even though the event was largely chalked up to the over-eagerness of the anti-air defences. Now it seems that the Battle of Los Angeles was a mix of fear, excitement of war and lack of communication. However unlikely it seems that it could have been a UFO, the idea of LA being attacked by aliens does sound rather humorous. What do you think caused the event in the night sky of February 1942? Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy the video? I hope you did. If that's the case, leave a like and a comment below. New episodes are released every Thursday, and the best way to see them is via subscription. You can help the channel grow by sharing videos with your friends, and there's also a Patreon link down below if you fancy financially supporting the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.